Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Edit Like a Pro Masterclass. For those of y'all who do not know me, my name is Kirsten S. Lewis. I am the founder and the owner of Honor Edits, and we have been, honey, up and running for almost 5 years now. And I will be your trusty, your handy dandy instructor for this evening. I'm actually very excited to kind of get a lot of what is in my head out of my head and onto um and into you guys so that you can go and create projects of your own. Now, this is, without further ado, the Edit Like a Pro Masterclass. Here is where I will basically teach you guys a full rundown, a full walkthrough of how to execute your project from start to finish, from storage to managing your files to organizing to effectively storytelling to paying attention to detail. So I feel like this is going to be a very detailed video. And so please make sure that you like, comment, share, send it to someone that you truly believe would really benefit from this course. It is absolutely free. And so please show your support by sharing. Okay. So these will be your course objectives. And so my goal, what I am anticipating is that you will be able to start a project and work on it effectively, create an entire finished product by the end of this event. Okay. Now, to start this whole session off, I always ask my students, what is your favorite movie, right? What is your favorite movie or your favorite TV show? For me, I think my default has always been Love Jones, because simply, if you read the definition of storytelling, it is the compelling narrative, it is the relatable characters, and the strong emotional appeal that always kept my attention during the movie, right? And I think that is something that I have taken as a producer, as a mindset of a producer, a storyteller. Those are things and ideas that I take and I added it to nearly every single project that I've ever worked on since starting and since honestly before starting Honor Edits. And to be completely honest, if I can humbly say, I truly believe that is what has allowed me to have as many projects as I've had, that and the grace of God, and also paying so much attention to how we can keep the audience on board at all times. If you don't take away anything else that I can say about effective storytelling, is always think about how to always keep the audience on board at all times, honey, by any means necessary. But no, don't be out here lying, trying to, get a story across. But I will say, what can you do to always keep the audience engaged? Because when we have an engaged audience, we have impact. Okay? And I will also like to interject a quick note that creatives and storytellers are very synonymous people, right? And just because they are synonymous people does not mean that they are exactly the same. We have so many creatives out in the world, but what sets a creative and a storyteller apart is a storyteller provides a lot more context, right? A storyteller provides a lot more context, and I would like to assume that we are impact driven, which creatives, I have seen the impact of a lot of creatives and I've seen their heart in the way that they create content. But I've also seen how they have set to entertain. And so I would say, if you are an aspiring storyteller and you want to become more enriched in your gifts, look for the impact at all costs. Okay, moving on. Now to the actual software, right? Final Cut Pro. Now, in a nutshell, I will say that Final Cut Pro is a professional non-linear, which means it is non-definitive, that it is widespread. There are a lot of things that you can do within this software that you cannot necessarily do with any other software in specific and also in general, right? And you can create, you can edit, you can produce high quality content, and it scales from beginner to advanced. And I say that it scales because if you know that you are not if you are not capable or you don't have the capacity to do a lot of the advanced features on Final Cut Pro, then you simply just don't have to do it. You know what I'm saying? Whatever it is that you do understand about Final Cut Pro, you can operate within that beginner section until you are comfortable enough to try keyframing or distortion or 3D, animation, etc. Right? But Final Cut Pro, I do believe it adds a lot of diversity, it adds a lot of dimension, and it's the fact that it is non-linear. It changes the game. Now, I say that it changes the game simply because um, of the dynamic between other editors, which I will get into. But who Final Cut is for, it's for everybody. But specifically, the top different specialists that come to mind are social media managers, content creators, small business owners, educators, marketers, media teams, and any scale production company that you can really think of. I can wholeheartedly say that I have done, I want to say about well over 50 post production projects for about maybe well over 10, maybe 15 different companies or individuals or nonprofits, right? And I have executed them on many different scales. Some of them, majority of them were for social media, some were for websites, some were for whole galas where donations were riding on the videos that we submitted, right? So this is why I say that it's for any scale productions, because in order to get the work done, utilize what you have. And in speaking of utilizing what you have, I'm sure a lot of us are familiar with the symbol to our left, iMovie. It is a wonderful linear software that comes with any MacBook, any iMac, any computer, Apple computer that you could purchase. I want to draw emphasis to the fact that it is very linear, right? It's very cut and dry. It is getting you from point A to point B regarding content creation, and also just giving a little bit more context. iMovie has been out for a long time, right? And Final Cut Pro is just basically an extension of iMovie, a more robust extension of iMovie. So it's very hard to say iMovie versus Final Cut Pro when it is literally just, something completely more advanced than the original version. But I will also say with iMovie, it had its perks, especially within the time of social media still developing in the way that it was. I'm not going to completely tell my age, but I relied on iMovie for a number of years before I invested in Final Cut Pro. And I completely understand if you are not 100% comfortable with purchasing Final Cut Pro, because it is a pretty penny. It's a pretty and shiny penny for this investment. And I will just also put a pin here by saying use what you have until you have what you need. That is the route that I took with iMovie. I found so many ways to makeshift projects when I was in iMovie. And so by the time I invested in Final Cut Pro, it was like I was like the kid in the candy store. So maximize what you have until you have what you need. And also, if you do want to purchase Final Cut Pro, right, and you do own a MacBook or any Apple product, there is a 90-day free trial on the Apple website to where you can download the software, fill it out, see how you like it, and then, of course, make steps towards purchasing it after that if you were sold on it during the free trial. Now, a pro tip I would suggest that I probably should have done around the time that I bought Final Cut Pro is if you are looking to make a return on your investment, right? And you want to utilize the 90-day free trial, I recommend opening up some projects, reaching out to some, freelance production companies, some well-known production companies offering to do, a few rounds of content for them while you get your rounds up in the 90-day free trial, get paid, and by the grace and mercy of God, maybe you can make the money back. That's just an idea. I can't say it's foolproof, to be completely honest. It's just throwing some ideas out there. But I know for me, it was a faith move. It was something that I decided to do. I took a leap and the Lord, sent me clientele. And I want to say I made that money back in no time, right? So that was just a pin there. Please do it at your leisure, and whatever works for you. If you have $300 to spare, more power to you. Now that we have gotten the Final Cut Pro aspect, now that we know what it is, now let's move on to storage. Okay, so storage, do I want to lie or do I want to tell the truth, right? With me being a creative, a storyteller, for me personally, when I wake up first thing in the morning and I get inspired to create something or do something that I do believe will make an impact, or most of all, just so I can have a cathartic outlet, I don't want anything standing in my way. I want to go ahead and get whatever it is in me out of me so that I can, move on to the next thing. That's just kind of how my mind works, how my heart works, how my drive works, right? So when it comes to post-production and executing a project, one of the many things that has stood in my way is storage, trying to manage, put together, figure out how to store my files so that my workflow can work well and work with me. Okay. So just for the sake of the PowerPoint, this whole segment is about understanding the importance of managing large quantities of video, audio, text, and image files through either an external hard drive and a cloud storage for an efficient workflow, right? So when you are considering investing in an external hard drive, like I said, for me, I'm with me being as creative as I am, I want to go ahead and just get it in, get it out of my head and get it onto something. And usually one of the many problems that I ran into when I would try to start a project is this error message, which is the storage device is almost full. Now, for those of y'all who do not know, Macintosh HD is literally my computer, right? And so when we store our library, when we store our projects and all of the things that we're working on this hard drive that is already taking up a lot of space as is, it starts to slow our workflow down. We become less inspired. We become very lethargic, lackadaisical in our approach because it's slowing our momentum down. And one of the things that really kills creativity is a slowed momentum, right? When we lose momentum. And so my goal here to introduce storage to you all is so that we can always keep up our creative momentum moving forward in other projects, right? And so for those of y'all who don't understand external storage, right, it is basically the portable storage disk that transfers and holds content created through any editing software and platform, right? And external drives can hold and store up to 20 terabytes of information, while the average internal hard drive can only store up to 1 terabyte, right? And so for the sake of the measurement, for the sake of the example, so if anyone has a, iPhone, cell phone, I know when I purchased my iPhone, I purchased, I think, the 125 gigabyte, right? And most phones can go up to 256 gigabytes, I want to say, unless there's more now. But imagine having a storage device, external storage, that can hold 20 terabytes. For every 1,000 gigabytes, that's 1 terabyte. So imagine having an external storage that can hold up to basically 20,000 gigabytes. Does that make sense? And I hope my metrics weren't off. But either way, that is a lot of space that you will need to store all of the creative ideas that you have, right? And that you want to execute effectively. And the good news about this is that it will not slow you down in the process. Okay. Now, these are the hard drives that I recommend simply because at face value, these are the main 3 hard drives that I've ever worked with while in business. Now, since I've only worked with Lacey once, I wanted to just show you guys what it looked like. And I'm just going to, I'm going to let you do with it what you will. But I will say I've had majority of my experience with Seagate and SanDisk, these exact 2 models, right? And SanDisk, personally, after 2.5 years of putting my hands to the plow professionally, SanDisk will be hands down my favorite solid state hard drive. Now, Seagate hard drive and SanDisk hard drive, they both have the same function, but I think it's a matter of your preference. And when I say preference and price difference, it will basically the preference and the price difference will basically be determined by these things in the middle, right? Which is size and what I spoke of before, 20 terabytes, 5 terabytes, 1 terabyte, right? So it's size, capacity, how much can it hold at once, compatibility, how many computers can it actually be compatible to, Mac, HP, Microsoft, all of those things, right? Read speed, how fast, how efficiently can the files get from my hard drive to my computer and back? What's the read speed on your hard drive? And also portability. Can I put it in my pocket and take it wherever I need to take it in order to get the job done effectively without worrying if it'll be more of a liability than an asset, right? Portability. So when you are trying to figure out what hard drive you need, these are the things to consider. So for me, for example, I would say rule of thumb, once again, one of my favorite, Seagate or SanDisk, whichever one you choose. But I would say size, 2 terabytes should be good enough for anybody. How much can they hold? Same, right? And I would say also overall size, I like it compact, like SanDisk over to my right. Compatibility, because I have a Mac, then I would want one that is automatically compatible to Mac or Microsoft or any other computer that you may have. Just Google it. Read speed has to be top tier. I can't remember, as a matter of fact, let me look it up right now in real time. But the most efficient read speed is, come on, Google, don't fail me now. The most efficient read speed on any hard drive would be, oh, that's a lot. Oh, that's a lot. Oh, that's a lot. But I don't think that's the read speed I was thinking of. Um, Most efficient read speed for SanDisk hard drive is okay. 2000 megabytes per second, right? Or 1000 or 1050 megabytes per second. So just to give you an idea of what the numbers you should look for when you think about read speed, which is once again how the information gets to your computer and back to your hard drive. That's read speed. Um Anywhere between 520 megabytes per second to 2000 megabytes per second, right? And so you decide what you need for the project load that you have. And then, of course, portability. Once again, I'm a fan of SanDisk because it really is durable, it's compact, and I can really take it anywhere with me without worrying about damage. Now, if you do not feel overtly comfortable investing in an external storage, I would also recommend. Now, these two things I do believe work in tandem with each other, but if you can only do one and not the other, I do recommend also considering external cloud storage. For me, I used to use Dropbox all of the time in order to get my projects out of my interface into Dropbox. And then, of course, sending that link to my client so my client can see what's going on. I no longer use it because I no longer need it. But for me, I paid the fee. I think at the time it was like maybe $15.99, which is significantly lower than purchasing an external hard drive. Also, Google Drive has free storage. I do not remember how much free storage you have before you have to pay and upgrade your plan, but there are plenty of cloud storage programs, softwares out there to where you can hold your files. The only tricky part about it for me that I've been leery of is, of course, when it's up in a cloud, if anything gets compromised, how recoverable is it? Now, I don't claim to know everything, but that has definitely always been a question in the back of my mind. If something gets compromised and something, you know, just floats off and disappears in midair, how do I recover it, right? But that is definitely up to your discretion. Use wisdom. You got it. But all I want to emphasize in this whole section is making sure that your files are somewhere else other than the computer that you have. Okay? Now, let's get to the good part, the software. Now, I want to walk you guys through where everything is first. One of the things that I am a stickler for is language. I want to give you a lot of language for what it is that you're about to see and experience. So when it's time to actually execute, you won't be entirely confused. Because personally, when I purchased this software, there wasn't a lot of information out about it. And the information that I received, it wasn't really helping me as much as I thought it should have, because it, they approached it in a way that assumed I already knew what everything was. So, what I want to do is basically walk you through what everything is first. And so, when it is time for us to actually edit some stuff, you'll know. Okay. So, one, boom. This entire section up here, boxed off, is your imports, keyword collections, and background tasks. Imports is where there's the button that you will press whenever you want to upload certain files to your interface, to your software, right? Next is keyword collections. That is simply a fancy way of saying folders. Folders that you have imported from your external hard drive. If you already have folders, it'll automatically convert into a keyword collections section, right? This is why organization is important. And then, of course, lastly, background tasks. And for all of my IT support and training, especially regarding Final Cut Pro, if you're trying to figure out what is going on within your project, you can always go to background tasks. It'll always be like this, this wheel that's always turning, whether it's rendering, transcoding, uploading, sharing, etc. You will always be able to figure out what's going on with your software when you click that button. Moving on to media, music, and text generators. Everyone say it with me. Assets. All of your assets will be housed here. Once again, media. So that is image files, audio files, footage, music. Now, Final Cut Pro actually comes with some music, but you are more than welcome to actually add music as well to your media. And then, of course, it comes with text, title work, and generators for overlay and effects and all of those amazing things for finishing touches, right? So, once again, when we think of this whole section, assets, right? All of your assets will be held here. Now, below your assets is your filing system, your organizational system. How will you house your assets? So I'm going to try to slow this part down because I really want everyone to understand it. Whenever you are about to start a project and you are starting a project for a particular company, or you are starting a project for a particular entity, that entity is going to be your library. You'll start the library. It'll say, for example, right? Honor Edits. Honor Edits is that entity. So library, Honor Edits. Within your library is going to be a series of events. Okay? Within your entity, there will be a series of events. So in the photos, not the photos, within the live demonstration that I'm going to show you guys soon, you'll see an actual example of Honor Edits And within Anora Edits, you'll see all of the Final Cut Pro masterclasses that I've taught with the dates and all of those things, right? So those are events. And then within those events are projects, right? And so projects could be anything from recap videos, interviews, content creation of any kind, just within that particular event. But there could be multiple projects within an event. So once again, library. Within your library is an event, and within your event is a project. Hopefully that made sense. Now that you have your files organized and your assets organized, you will be able to review all of your assets and files in your browser. Okay. So when you click on an event or a file or some footage you just want to look at real quick, that will show up in your browser first. And then you can choose whether or not if you want to drag it and drop it into your magnetic timeline. And in your magnetic timeline, this is where all of the magic happens. This is where all of the pieces come together in your creative puzzle. Okay. And then going up to your on-screen controls. So there's a space and a place where you can adjust and fine tune everything else. But if you don't really feel like doing a lot of that, you have on-screen controls. One where you can see the timer. You can see the timer, you can see the audio levels, basically where you can make quick edits. Here is where you can do, slow motion. You can change the orientation, and you can also kind of add a little bit of automatic flair just as a quick edit that doesn't require you to pay too much attention to detail. Okay. And then your viewer, anything that you drag and drop from your assets section to your magnetic timeline, it will automatically be seen in your viewer, whatever you created. Now, once again, I will show you guys in my library of how my timeline looks when I start to stack and add everything in place and how it will convey in the viewer. But yes, this is where you'll see it. Now, to the right of your viewer will be your editor and inspector. Okay, so if you are the type of person that is just like me and that pays very close attention to detail, more than likely this will be your bread and butter. And this is what I truly believe creates the greatest difference between iMovie and honestly any other softwares, because you actually have the creative freedom to fine tune certain things that you like, that you don't like, right? And move on into other areas of the edit. Speaking of other areas of the edit, effects and transitions will be in this section right here. It is not currently open, but it will be available right here whenever you need it. Now, if any of this or if all of this needed to be summed up in, comprehensible words, think of the 3 F's in your creative process regarding Final Cut, and that is foundation, fine tuning, and finishing touches. Let me go back. So all of this, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, foundation. These are the foundational things that you will need in order to get your edit up and started, right? Everything in the editor inspector is fine tuning. Fine tuning, okay? And then, of course, effects and transitions, and even regarding text and generators up in the asset section, those are finishing touches, okay? So, foundation, fine tuning, finishing touches. And then, of course, in the top right section, don't know if you can see it because of the watermark, but that is where you export. When you're done, everything is to your liking. You export it, you add it to your collection of great work, and then we move on to the next project, right? So this is where everything is, and this is what everything is. Now, let's edit. Let me open up my handy dandy editing software, if it'll let me do it. There we are. So, as you all can see, this is my interface, right? Now, once again, import keyword collections background task. Now, as y'all can see, the background task looks something like this, which is a little different from the picture, right? It's because it's rendering. right? So anytime you are ever wondering what is happening in your computer, you can always go to background tasks and it'll show you what section is doing what and in specificity how much of it is doing it. Okay? And so for me, I never like to render. I never like to render. So I cancel my renders every time they start. Now, let's break it back down, right? Going over to assets and filing system. Boom. Library, Honora Academy 3. Within my library is my events. Edit Like a Pro 2023, Edit Like a Pro 2024, right? And within these events are projects. Boom. Jones Love. My students, they are creative, top tier. The View, I don't know what they called this one, but basically these are my events, and within each event there's a project. Okay, so now let's go ahead and just start a new project. We already have the event. Well, actually, no, let's start a new event. Somebody, I heard you in the spirit. You said, actually, Kirsten, we need to start an event, and I heard you. So good for you. You were paying attention, friend. Okay, so let's start by adding, for me, simply because of the way that I was taught to file during working with another production company. I'm just choosing to stick with that filing system. So, uh, year, month, day, which by then it would be July. Oh, Lord, it is July the 3rd. And then, of course, edit like a pro. This is how I organize my files or my projects. This is the event name. It's going to be in the Honora Academy 3 library. Yes, I want to start a brand new project. Leave this be. You can edit in 4K or you can edit in 1080p HD. It's whatever floats your boat, and especially if you are a social media content creator, vertical. Editing in vertical is, really where you will set up camp. But there are plenty of ways that you can edit. I'm just choosing to edit in 4K, and that sets up your resolution. And you can also adjust your frame rate. So for me, I think I'll change my frame rate to 29.97p. And then, of course, all of this stays the same for me. Out of all of the years that I've been editing, I've rarely ever had to change these. So once all of this is created, okay. Now, if I can go to my event, where are you? Here you are. My event here, it created a project of its own. And so what I will do is immediately rename it. I really wish I had a whole lot of access to my comments, because this is the part where I ask my students, what do you want to name it? So for the sake of time, I am going to name this one Pro. Oh, that was anticlimactic. So, Pro. Now, we have a project created. Let's see what kind of content we can add. Now, once again, there in previous classes, I would actually provide the editing material. So what I think I will use is that same are those same materials if I can find it. But here I just pressed import, and now I'm looking through my files to see if I can find my source material. Final Cut Pro. Okay. See, this is why there it is. Source material. Edit like a pro, source material. Boom. This is why organization is important. I told y'all, let me be a testament to you. This is why it's important, because you will spend the next 5-10 minutes looking for stuff that, would have been easier if we just organized. So, source material. This is just a message basically saying that a script that I wrote isn't fully supported, but that's fine. Continue to import. Boom. Now that it's imported, everything is available in your browser, right? And if you want it to be a little bit more organized here, you can separate it by file type, right? Or any other way, right? But for me, I'd rather do it by file type just so I can know what all I'm working with. So here is music, the script, the narration, and then the rest up top is footage. And if you need any information of what it is that you're looking at, these symbols to the left of your files will let you know what is what. So film strip, footage, audio, image, right? So now that we have these things here, let's review them. And you can review them by either pressing the play button here on your on-screen controls. And for me, I just press the space bar for shortcut reasons. So boom, here we are watching it through. A man slow motion walking down a what looks like a bridge. Okay. Next. Ooh, skyline shot. Beautiful. Okay. People walking. More overhead city view. Someone going live on Instagram. Exercise. More exercise. Dancing. A couple dancing at a wedding, what looks like a wedding. Okay, a child wandering, well, not wandering, but like, exploring the trees, a beach experience with a family, and a hand stretching out, right? Now, for the sake of the example, the more assets you have, of course, the more time it'll take to actually edit. But I at least wanted to show you guys what all can be added into your assets folder, your assets section. And also, if you drop down the Edit Like a Pro section, this is what your keyword collections will look like. Because I uploaded the folder, if y'all remember, because I uploaded the folder or imported the folder, it automatically turned into keyword collections, right? So boom. Let's go within the context. Let's keep within the context of maybe exercise, family, child, and I would say maybe playing on the beach, something like that, right? Just picking random clips. Now, if we were to think about storytelling, it would definitely take a lot more time for us to figure out how to tie it all together. But for the sake of time, I will say, what story do I want to create here? Which is family, family, family. Okay, so something like along these lines. As a matter of fact, I may want to take the baby out. I may want to take the baby out because I like the large group of people. I like the establishing shot. I like the establishing shot, so I think I want to add the shoes up front. See, this is why I can't do anything random. I want to add the shoes up front, maybe more walking. Yeah, maybe more walking. Um, and let's just see what we can come up with from here with what we have. So if I was moving too fast just then, what I did was I looked at a lot of footage within my browser, see how I like it. I also took my cursor and kind of scrubbed through to see if there were any pieces that I could use, right? And if I liked it, I just hold pressed and dragged it to my magnetic timeline and it snaps it into place, whether in the front, middle, or back, it snaps it, okay? And if you're ever wondering why it never snaps or why it never scrolls or why it, doesn't do the things that you're seeing today, you can always look at these little icons here. And if any of them are not highlighted, try highlighting them, try pressing them, and it may do what you've been looking for it to do in this video. So now let's just watch it through. It's a minute 16. So let's just watch it through, see what we can come up with. It's just establishing footage. Personally, I already know that that is going on too long. I may not use that. I may not use it, but for the sake of the example, let me just not be nitpicky. But it is a great shot, though. It is a great shot. Now, this was a really good shot. I loved it personally because of the pan, the rotation, and then, of course, the movement. This is what I think of when I think of storytelling, capturing the movement and how to execute it, even following through to the end of the clip. Family running into the ocean. And as much as I want to use as much as I want to use this one, I don't think I'll use it either. Okay. So boom, because I'm just not feeling the yoga at the end or the guy walking in across the bridge, I think I'll just keep it short and sweet with these 3 clips, right? And I'll just show you just the overview of how to clip, cut all those amazing things in your magnetic timeline. So, for example, I told you all that I did not really like how long drawn out this was. So I am going to pull my cursor to like a sweet spot maybe. So let me see. Mm, I'm looking at the different steps and I think I want to cut here once the white shoes leave. So let me take a step back before another shoe enters. Boom. Perfect. Now, what you can do to cut is 2 things, right? And you can either go to your cursor symbol here, it's blade right here, and you can go back to your line here, cut it, or you could just simply press B on your keyboard. The shortcuts will always be next to the actual actions. And from there, let me switch back. From there, I'm just going to delete whatever's left. Now, over time, what I have done now to speed up my workflow is just pressing I and O, which is in and out, whatever your end clip, whatever the beginning clip, I'm sorry, whatever the beginning of your clip is going to be, and whatever the out, the end of your clip is going to be. I section those 2 off and then I just delete the entire section. So for example, let's see how much of this I want to use. I love all of it though. This is a good shot. But say if I want to cut it off, okay, so they got their point across like right here, right? So this is where I want my clip to end, right? And as you can see, it highlighted the section from that point to the end, right? And so once I pressed I just backspaced, deleted everything after, okay? And then of course it cuts to the family slow motion running into the ocean. Now, I think one thing I don't necessarily like with the transition from the women running to the beach running on a storyteller tip is that the head is out of frame and the last frame actually had the heads in it. So what I want to do is probably cut it up into the point that the heads were present. And this is where I pressed the out key, the O key, which is out. And it highlights everything before. Does that make sense? And so I just delete everything before. It cuts my workflow in half, and that's just what I've gotten used to. But like once again, starting out, you can always use your cursor or press the B button and blade and cut it that way. Okay. And I just undid it. All right. So boom, boom, boom. See, I like that already. And so yeah, on a storytelling tip, I always pay attention to the background. I pay attention to the foreground, what's there, what isn't, and how can the last clip connect to the next clip, right? So if the sun is in a certain position and you see in the next clip, the sun is in that exact same position, I'm telling you, every time it'll be like chef's kiss, no matter what the new subject matter is. It's storytelling. It's connection. It's keeping the audience engaged. So now you learn how to cut, you learn how to trim. Here we are. Let's use some of our on-screen controls, right? So a lot of this is pretty slow already. So what I think I want to do is, what do I want to do? I think I'll speed this one up just a little bit because it looks a little slower than everything else. So on-screen controls, right? So boom, right here you have crop, transform, distort. Personally, I don't want to crop, transform, or distort anything because everything kind of looks already at a good space, right? Or where I want it to be. But these options are available, right? Going to the enhancement, which can be found in your inspector, but once again, it's a quick edit. I rarely ever like to use this because I personally want to be in control of how I color grade and how I edit or enhance. And then, of course, here's where you can find your speed controls. And so for me, I want to select this clip right here and I want to speed it up just a little bit. So I'm going to go up to fast and maybe speed it up 2 times as fast and let's see how that looks. And as you can see, this pops up on top. Yeah, like, just speed it up a little bit, but I think I will slow it down from there a few. I just want to keep with the pace of the last clip. And even thinking about where the camera was in the last scene, shifting to the new scene, even that plays a part in storytelling. Because if the camera is in a completely different position, like it can be jarring. But anyway, so yeah, I think that works fine. Now, because it's a short clip, what I like to do is just add, a speed ramp, I want to say. So what I'll probably do is speed ramp it from fast to slow. Now, I will say for me, I just press shift B, right? And when I press shift B, it creates a new section here, completely separated from this section. And I grab it, pull it out some, and it slows it down just a little bit. Well, it slows it down a lot. So, but let me see how I like it. Boom. Woo! Beautiful. And what I think I still want to do, even once that splash happens, I think I still want to add one more speed ramp. No, no, no. One more speed ramp to even be slower coming out of that splash. So let me see. Slow, boom. Yeah. So I'm cool with it. And kind of like, it becomes just a fade out at the end since that's the last one. Yeah. So I'm cool with it. But boom, you just saw how to speed ramp, slow the speed down, speed it up, however you see fit. But this is the type of fine tuning that I was speaking about. But when it comes to on screen controls, this is definitely where you can gauge it better and a lot quicker. Um, Now, for me, I was taught to always keep my audio accessible, to always keep it available so I can see it because everything should always hit at -6 dBs. Now, because I don't have any audio attached to these clips, we don't really need it at this moment. Now, moving on, we got our foundational things out of the way. How y'all feeling so far? Okay, okay, okay. Now that we've gotten our foundational things out of the way, now let's shift over to the inspector and the editor. Now, as you all can see, this is a lot. Let me pull down my timeline for a second so you can see what all is actually here. Compositing, transformation, crop, distort, Sounds familiar because it was just in our on-screen controls. But these are the specifics. You can actually go in and rotate, change the position, scale in, scale out, scale up, scale down. All of these amazing things you can fine tune in this way. If you have shaky footage, you can add stabilization and it'll say analyzing dominant motion and it will stabilize. And you can change from automatic, inertia to smooth. You have different options for stabilization. Then you have rolling shutter. Never used it, so I can't really speak on what it does and how it works. But spatial conform. This has helped me out a lot, especially when it comes to creating social media content, vertical content, because you can just feel and the software will pull the face or pull the focal point, the subject matter, and pull it to the front, and you can just fine tune it from there. So that comes in handy a lot. The rest of this I don't really use, including the trackers. Once again, I would like to consider myself sometime borderline intermediate and advanced. So when we think of trackers, wow, trackers and keyframing, that's more on the advanced side. Now let's shift over to color grading or color correction. Color correction, you'll see color, saturation, exposure. Now there are different ways to do the exact same thing, right? There are different ways to color grade and do the exact same thing. For me, my preference is color curves because I can go in and just kind of shift in that way. This button resets everything. You can do it by color wheels, right? They all have the same function. It's just a matter of preference of how you like to fine tune it. Okay, and their saturation curves here. I rarely use this. Color adjustments. This is, I feel like, is more mainstream. More mainstream. I think it's very easily convertible for anyone that's trying to adjust to the fine tuning parts. But yes, color wheels, color curves, color board, they all do the same thing. It's just a matter of preference. Especially with color grading. Color grading, I can't really show you what color grading looks like unless I pull the baby back out. Unless I pull the child back out, because this is probably as raw as footage as I have right about now. But of course, when you're color grading, you need raw footage to kind of paint on top of, more like a blank canvas color wise. Otherwise, you'll just be color correcting, maybe reducing exposure, adding saturation, etc. Now, moving on to this whole section here, which is the information section. It tells you everything you need to know about the actual clip that you're viewing, what time it starts and what time it ends during the timeline, what camera name, you can type that in, what notes. Notes comes in handy for me, especially with content that requires B-roll and that has a roll, and I need to remember people's names. I type people's names in here all the time. But yes, all of the information that you'll need to know about the actual video file that you're looking at, it'll be here. And this is your editor and inspector, okay? It was a lot simpler than I thought. Pretty cut and dry. Now, going on to your finishing touches, which is your effects and your transitions. So let me just go ahead and show you all. This is what your effect, this is all the effects that they give you, which is insane. And what I also love about this software is that it is consistently updating. And so the effects, the transitions, the generators, the text, the overlays that I had when I first bought this software, I have a whole lot more now. But these are the presets. And you can also add your own presets. You can also download and import your downloaded presets, LUTs, etc., right? And you can use these to convey whatever story you're trying to convey, right? Effects. Boom. Okay. And then transitions. Let's go here. Yeah. Transitions. Beautiful transitions. Now, for me, with the projects that I work on a regular, well, I've worked on a regular basis, cross dissolve. between cross dissolve and fade to black were always my go-tos. Very simple, very easily editable. And so if it's not broke, don't fix it. I would say even my favorite effect would be Gaussian blur, or any one of the other blurs, zoom. Video wall is pretty cool, but these are the different transitions you can use to elevate your content as well. And I will say also with finishing touches, with your text and title work, these are your texts. I also downloaded quite a few of these texts, so some of them may not come with the software itself. Those are a lot of S's. I hope it didn't peak in the recording. But yes, this is what you will see in essence. Okay. And for example's sake, I'm probably just going to pick a random one and show you in the viewer what it would look like if I just pan through it, right? Knockout, boom, right? Or knock down, that's what it would look like. So personally, I think the graphics are top tier generators. If you wanted to add a cursor, tell people to hit that notification bell, that's available. I think that may have been downloaded. I can't remember. You want to tell someone to like, share, comment, subscribe. These generators, these overlays are available and so much more. So I definitely recommend locking in and just taking some time to look at what floats your boat, okay? But these are the finishing touches. And the beautiful thing about applying finishing touches is that you don't need my help to do it. It is solely up to you and your creative ability. Like whatever you are inspired to create and produce, you can simply choose based on your ideas. But y'all, was that it? Am I done? Oh, and last but not least, so what I have here, as a matter of fact, just for the sake of the example, let me go ahead and add a text, right? Because I reckon my time is almost up. So I want to make sure I don't hold you longer than you need to be held. So I will drag and drop elegant minimal titles here, and I will go ahead and just add it to the top. Now, what I want to do is take it, click it, go to this new section that just popped up for text and title work in my editor inspector. And here is where I want to change what it says, right? So if the title is pro, I'm just going to change it to pro. Subtext learning how, is that all caps? Learning how to edit. I'm going to change it to all caps just to keep it clean. So go to the next section here, change it to all caps, pro. You can barely see it. So what I want to do is toggle back to here, change this color to maybe black. That looks more blue. Black. Yeah. So now you can see it. You can change the font in this section here. This is by default what it comes up with, but these are the fonts that I have downloaded. These are the fonts that kind of come with the software. So you can very much so choose what it is that works for you. And also you can change the size and everything. It really is an amazing, phenomenal software. You can change the size here. You can change the size here, right? Whatever floats your boat. If you're good, I mean, if you're big on branding, you can make it, leveled out so it can match, something like the title itself. You can reposition it. For me, I want to shift it a little bit to the left. Why does that look more brown than black? See, y'all done got me started. But anyway, actually I like it like that. I'm gonna leave it like that. But yes, this is it. And for me, I sometimes I cheat a little bit. So I take the entire, I click on the entire title if I don't feel like just scaling them both at separate times, I just take the whole thing and scale it up. Boom, right? And so now this is my focal point, and everything else is just floating in the back until that's done. So I think that was really it for foundation, finishing touches, fine tuning, right? Fine tuning, finishing touches. Maybe I could add a transition so that you can see how it works. So just random, right? Random one, two, three color planes. This is basically saying there's not enough space, and so I just told it to create more space so that the transition can happen. One more transition, drag and drop, 3D rectangle. Why not? So boom, we have transitions, we have titles. What kind of effects can we put on here? One, two, three. Okay. Intro flashes. Intro flashes. So at face value, now that we've added everything to our timeline, this is what we have at the end of our workflow. Oh, not bad. Not bad for a random selection. Boom. Wonderful graphic. Change. What? Honey, at this point, I'm sorry, y'all, that it's glitching. It's rendering. It's rendering, and I have to constantly cancel the render. But not bad. Not a bad transition at all. Now switching to the 3D. Now I really wish I could see it in full effect, but sometimes it does stick, and I do apologize for that. Perfect, beautiful. Now, I will say for anybody who is a professional or even knows in the slightest about what I'm talking about with it sticking or not running as smoothly as I want it to, if you have any ideas or ways that I could avoid that, that'll be perfect. For me, I just switched in my viewer right here. There are plenty of selections that you have here, especially if you're working with titles. You can put on a title safe section to keep you from going outside of the lines. And for me, I just changed it to, instead of optimize original, I changed it to proxy preferred, which just transitions it from trying to put all hands on deck to just putting some hands on deck, right? So let's try it like this. No more rendering. Okay. Okay. Ooh, smooth transition. Next. Boom. Wonderful color plane transition. And boom. Okay. And done. So I would say faithfully cross dissolve. Oh no, let me just do the heart since that's the first thing I see. The heart transition out. And let's just see how that goes since it looks like a loving. Is it going to let me do it? Bah, 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 bah. Yeah. So why not? So now all of this is done. Let me switch it back to optimize original. Maybe it'll let me do it. It's still sticking, but maybe it'll look a lot better when I export it. Rectangular, slow it down, transition out with the heart and out. So let me just go ahead and export it, right? Boom, export file. These are just my presets. Please don't be intimidated, but depending on how you want to export it, these are just preset ways to export it. So for me, the title is already there. Just in case I want to make a different version, I'm going to save it under version 1, and it'll be under these tags. I rarely ever change it. And then computer, Apple devices, mastering, video and audio only, video only. I would say because this isn't going to be a big project for me at all, and I don't plan on having it scaled on any, teleprompters, projectors, presenters anytime soon, I would just leave it with Apple devices, social media platforms, or computer. And then when you click one of those options, it'll show you here how much space it'll take up. So that's only 50, was it megabytes, 50 megabytes. So I'm cool with it. And everything else pretty much stays the same. Now, if I change the resolution here to basically 4K, that takes it up quite a bit. But once again, because it's a short video, I don't mind. And it can either be, QuickTime player, home videos, whatever you decide. And what I will do is save it to my Honora Edits folder, Honora Academy, Edit Like a Pro 2025 and July. And I will add a new folder for organizational purposes and just say I'll say edit. I'll just say Edit Like a Pro Masterclass so that I will know when this took place and what took place. Pro. And then save it under that folder. And here in the background tasks, it'll let you know how much time you have left or how much of the percentage is words that you just that you'll have to wait for it to finish exporting. Sorry. So I'm going to let that finish. And once that is done, what I think I will do is just want to see the final product outside of the interface just to make sure I didn't miss anything. And I think we'll be done. I think we will be done. But that was the entire workings of Final Cut Pro, you guys. You did it. You did it. Start, finish. How much fun did y'all have? Please leave a comment below and let me know while that's exporting. Yes, you just edited all the way through. Congratulations, right? And if you have any questions, please feel free to comment below. Email me at honoraedits@gmail.com. And if there was anything that you feel like I missed, please let me know so I can include it in the next course, because I reckon this may not be the last time that I can offer this kind of service for free. And so if you have any questions, please let me know and I could get back to you. I could go live, whatever it takes. And I would appreciate you all doing a 1-minute survey for me real quick while this is uploading. So let me find the link for the survey. Google Classroom is where I housed all of my information. So if you were in my previous classes, you'll probably see it. Classwork, feedback. Here we are. And I will just add this in the comments section as well as I'll add it here. Uh-oh. Let me try it this way. But yes, here is the link to the survey. So if you want to screenshot it real quick, I can also put it in the comment section in YouTube. But I would definitely appreciate you leaving your feedback so that I can know what I can improve on, or if there was anything that really helped you in your editing journey. Now, I think the edit is done, y'all. I think the edit is done. So let me see if I can share my screen one more time so that we can get this show on the road. Cricky, get the bags. Okay. July, Edit Like a Pro, Pro 1, open. Oh! We did that. I'm gonna show you again because it kind of came in hot. Boom. We did that. Now, once again, if I had enough time, I would definitely show you guys, like, how to drag and drop the music, how to really fine tune it, pay attention to detail, incorporate a lot more storytelling techniques, even with the music, changing the music dynamics and all of the volume and whatnot. But I think for introduction's sake, this was a lot to catch on to. And so, y'all, this has been phenomenal. This has been a good time. I really appreciate your time. And I really hope that this course was impactful, that it helped you. And please, once again, make sure you share it with someone who may need it. Okay. Once again, my name is Kirsten S. Lewis. I have been your handy dandy instructor, and this was the Edit Like a Pro Masterclass, July 2025. And I will catch y'all in the next one. I'll see y'all later. Peace.